Most people are afraid to be alone. They fill every moment with noise, conversations, social media distractions, because silence makes them uncomfortable. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful breakthroughs, the biggest moments of clarity, the deepest connections you'll ever have, don't happen in a crowd, they happen when you're alone. And one of the simplest ways to tap into that power is by walking alone. The world moves fast. You're bombarded with information, opinions, expectations. Your mind gets cluttered, pulled in 100 different directions. But when you walk alone, you step away from the noise. You give yourself the space to think, to breathe, to process. That's when clarity happens. That's when you stop reacting to life and start making intentional choices. Because when it's just you and the road ahead, there's no pressure, no distractions, just you, your thoughts, and the opportunity to reset. But walking alone isn't just about clearing your mind, it's about strengthening your independence. Too many people rely on others for validation, for direction, for a sense of identity. They fear doing things alone because they associate solitude with loneliness. But being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being powerful. It means trusting yourself, enjoying your own company, and realizing that you don't need anyone's approval to feel complete. Every step you take alone builds confidence. It reminds you that you're capable, that you can stand on your own, that you are enough. And when your mind is clear and your confidence is strong, something incredible happens. Your creativity explodes. Think about it. Some of the greatest ideas, the biggest innovations, the most profound solutions don't come from sitting in front of a screen or in a crowded room. They come from moments of solitude. They come when your brain isn't overwhelmed, when you're free to wander, explore, imagine. When you walk alone, your mind has the space to connect the dots, to spark new ideas, to unlock solutions that seemed impossible before. But the most powerful part, walking alone deepens your connection with yourself. It forces you to be present with your thoughts, to listen to your emotions, to truly understand what's going on inside you. In a world that constantly pulls you in different directions, this is your chance to check in with yourself, to ask, what do I really want? What's truly important to me? Because when you know yourself at that level, when you're in tune with your emotions, your vision, your purpose, you become unstoppable. The world is loud. Everywhere you turn, there's something demanding your attention. Notifications, conversations, responsibilities, endless noise pulling you in 100 different directions. And with all of this chaos, most people never take a moment to step back, to pause, to just be with their own thoughts. That's why so many feel overwhelmed, lost, stuck in a cycle of reacting instead of leading their own lives. But there's a simple, powerful way to break free from that mental clutter, to reset, to gain the clarity that so many are desperately searching for. And it's not complicated, it's not expensive, it's not something only a select few have access to. It's as simple as walking alone. When you walk alone, you give yourself something rare, space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to reconnect with yourself without the influence of the outside world. And that space, that's where the magic happens. Because when you remove distractions, when you step away from the noise, your mind finally has the opportunity to process everything it's been holding on to. The thoughts that have been buried under stress and urgency start to rise to the surface. The questions you've been avoiding suddenly become clearer. The solutions that seemed impossible begin to emerge. Most people never experience this because they never give themselves the chance. They fill every spare moment with distractions, scrolling through their phones, consuming endless content, keeping their minds busy so they don't have to sit with their thoughts. But when was the last time you actually listened to yourself? When was the last time you allowed yourself to think without interruption? That's what walking alone gives you, the ability to declutter your mind, to sort through your emotions, to gain a sense of direction instead of feeling like you're just running in circles. And here's the thing, clarity isn't something that just appears out of nowhere. It's something you create. It's something you cultivate by making time for stillness, for reflection, for uninterrupted thought. And when you walk alone, that's exactly what you're doing. Step by step, you're shedding the stress, the confusion, the pressure, and replacing it with focus, understanding, and certainty. It doesn't mean you'll have all the answers instantly, but it does mean you'll start asking the right questions. And when you ask the right questions, when you give yourself the time and space to listen, that's when breakthroughs happen. Think about it. How many of the best ideas in history, how many of the greatest decisions ever made came from moments of solitude? How many world-changing innovations, artistic masterpieces, and personal transformations happen not in the middle of chaos, but in quiet moments of reflection? Because when you strip away the noise, you start to hear your own voice. You start to recognize what truly matters. You start to see the path forward that was always there, just hidden beneath the distractions. And the best part, you don't need to go on some retreat. You don't need to spend months meditating in silence. You don't need to escape to some distant island to experience this. All it takes is making the decision to walk, to step outside, to move, to breathe, to allow your thoughts to flow freely without judgment, without pressure, without expectation. It's in those moments when it's just you and the open road that you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You realize what's really been holding you back, what's been weighing you down, what needs to change. And that's powerful, because clarity isn't just about feeling better, it's about taking control. It's about shifting from confusion to certainty, from stress to strategy, from being stuck to making progress. And that happens when you create the space to think, when you allow yourself to reset, to recalibrate, to see things from a new perspective. That's the power of walking alone. It's not just exercise. It's not just a break from your routine. It's a tool. Most people don't realize how much they rely on the world around them to feel a sense of security. They seek validation from others, waiting for someone to tell them they're on the right path. They hesitate to make decisions unless they have approval. They feel uncomfortable doing things alone, afraid of what people might think, afraid of feeling isolated. But the truth is, strength isn't built through dependence, and strength is built through industry. Being able to think, confidence doesn't come from what others say or do. It comes from within. And one of the most powerful ways to build that self-reliance, to strengthen that inner confidence, is by walking alone. When you walk alone, you remind yourself that you don't need an audience, you don't need permission, and you don't need anyone else's presence to feel whole. You are capable on your own. You are strong on your own. And when you take that first step, when you move forward without needing company, something shifts inside you. You begin to trust yourself more. You start to enjoy your own presence. You stop seeking external validation because you realize the only approval you ever needed was your own. The problem is, most people never give themselves this experience. They avoid being alone because it feels uncomfortable. They fear silence because it forces them to face their thoughts. But discomfort is where growth happens. Strength isn't built by staying in the same place, repeating the same patterns, doing what's easy. Strength is built by stepping into the uncomfortable, by proving to yourself that you are enough, that you don't need to be surrounded by others to feel confident and secure. And it's not just about proving something to yourself. It's about shifting your entire mindset. When you rely on others to feel safe, to feel validated, to feel like you belong, you give up control. You allow your confidence to depend on circumstances outside of you, and that's dangerous, because what happens when those people aren't there? What happens when the approval doesn't come? Do you shrink? Do you hesitate? Or do you stand tall and move forward anyway? That's the difference between those who are truly confident and those who are only confident when everything is going their way. True confidence comes from within. It's unshakable. It's not dependent on opinions, trends, or circumstances. And walking alone, that's a practice in building that kind of confidence. Every step is a reminder that you don't need to rely on anyone else to feel strong, to feel capable, to feel at peace. And something powerful happens when you start doing this regularly. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself. You stop worrying about whether others approve of your choices. You start listening to your own instincts, trusting your own decisions, following your own path without hesitation. That's what independence feels like. That's what self-reliance looks like. And that's how you take control of your life. Most people don't realize how much they hold themselves back simply because they're afraid of standing alone. They don't take action because they don't want to do it without company. They don't chase their dreams because they're waiting for support. But what if you stopped waiting? What if you stopped hesitating? What if you started showing up for yourself the way you wish others would show up for you? That's the kind of power you unlock when you walk alone. Because here's the reality. There will be moments in your life where you have to stand on your own. There will be times when no one is cheering for you, no one is supporting you, no one is telling you what to do. And in those moments, the only thing that will carry you forward is your own belief in yourself. your own ability to stand tall, to trust your own strength, to keep moving even when no one else is watching. And that's the key. Stop looking around for someone to walk with you. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for validation. Take that first step alone and realize that you are enough, because when you can walk alone with confidence, you can walk through anything life throws at you. Creativity is something that just appears when you force it. It doesn't show up when you're stressed, overwhelmed, or buried under the weight of constant distractions. Creativity is something that thrives in space. It grows in moments of silence. It comes alive when your mind is free to wander, to explore, to connect ideas in ways you never expected. And that's why walking alone is one of the most powerful tools for unlocking creativity and problem solving. Because when you step away from the noise, when you remove yourself from the endless stream of opinions, obligations, and distractions, that's when your mind finally has the chance to breathe. Think about the moments in your life when you've had your biggest ideas, when a solution to a problem suddenly became clear. It wasn't when you were sitting in front of a screen, staring at a problem and trying to force an answer. It wasn't when you were caught in the middle of 1,000 different obligations, rushing from one thing to the next. It was when you were in motion, when you were relaxed, when your mind wasn't being pulled in 10 different directions. That's the magic of walking alone. It's not just about movement. It's about creating the space for new ideas to emerge, for fresh perspectives to take shape, for clarity to replace confusion. Most people don't allow themselves that space. They fill every second with noise, with distractions, with constant stimulation, never realizing that their best ideas are being buried under the weight of too much input. But when you walk alone, when you remove yourself from all of that and just allow yourself to be present, something shifts. The mind starts to make connections it wouldn't have made otherwise. Thoughts start to flow in a way they never could in a crowded room or a noisy environment. And that's where creativity is born. Not from forcing, not from pressure, but from freedom. And it's not just about creativity, it's about problem solving. How many times have you struggled with the decision, gone back and forth, analyzed it from every angle, only to feel even more stuck than when you started? The reason is simple. You were trying to force the answer instead of giving it space to come to you. But the moment you step away, the moment you stop overanalyzing and start moving, everything starts to shift. That's why some of the greatest breakthroughs, the biggest solutions, the most important decisions don't happen in meetings or strategy sessions. They happen in moments of solitude, in times when you're not even actively thinking about the problem, but your mind is still working on it in the background. That's why walking alone is such an important practice. It's not just about getting from one place to another. It's about giving your mind the opportunity to do what it does best when it's not being forced. It's about creating the kind of space where ideas can surface, where solutions can emerge, where clarity can replace doubt. Because when you're constantly consuming information, constantly reacting to what's happening around you, you never give yourself the chance to process, to create, to think in a way that's truly original. Some of the most successful, creative, and innovative people in history understood this. They made time for solitude, for walking, for allowing their thoughts to flow freely without interruption. Because they knew that inspiration doesn't come when you're sitting in front of a screen waiting for it. It comes when you step away, when you move, when you allow your mind the freedom to explore possibilities you wouldn't have considered otherwise. And it's not just about finding solutions. It's about seeing life from a new perspective. When you walk alone, you start to notice things you never noticed before. You see the world differently. You pick up on details you would have missed. You allow yourself to experience the present moment fully, without distractions, without outside influence. And in doing that, you open yourself up to new ideas, new possibilities, new ways of thinking that weren't available to you before. So if you feel stuck, if you feel uninspired, if you've been searching for answers but can't seem to find them, stop trying to force it. Stop overloading yourself with information. Stop looking for solutions in the same places that have only left you feeling stuck. Step outside, walk, move, let go of the need to have all the answers right now and just allow yourself to be in motion. Because the ideas you're searching for, the creativity you want to unlock, the solutions you're trying so hard to find, they're already there. You just need to create the space for them to come to you. There's something powerful about walking alone, something that goes beyond just movement, beyond just getting from one place to another. It's an experience, a practice, a way of tapping into something deeper inside of you. And one of the greatest benefits of it, the thing that most people overlook, is how it strengthens your connection with yourself. Because in today's world, where distractions are everywhere, where you're constantly being pulled in 1,000 different directions, it's easy to lose sight of who you really are. It's easy to forget what truly matters to you when you're always reacting to what's happening around you, when your attention is scattered, when your time is filled with everything and everyone except yourself. But when you walk alone, all of that noise fades away. For once, there's no pressure, no expectations, no one to impress, no one to perform for, no one to influence the way you think or feel. It's just you. And in that solitude, you get the rare opportunity to check in with yourself in a way most people never do. You start to notice the thoughts that rise up when there's no one around to filter them. You begin to understand what's really on your mind, what's really weighing on your heart, what's really driving you forward or holding you back. And that's something most people never give themselves the chance to experience. They fill every quiet moment with distractions, scrolling through their phones, watching videos, constantly looking for something to occupy their attention, because deep down, they're afraid of silence. They're afraid of sitting alone with their thoughts. But the truth is, if you're afraid of being alone with your own mind, if you're afraid of your own thoughts, that's a sign you're disconnected from yourself. That's why walking alone is so powerful. It forces you to be present with yourself. It forces you to listen to your own voice without interference. And the more you do it, the more you start to trust yourself. You begin to see patterns in your thinking, to understand your emotions on a deeper level, to recognize what you truly want out of life instead of just following what the world tells you to want. And that kind of self-awareness, that's the foundation for everything. That's where real growth happens. That's where clarity is born, because if you don't take the time to understand yourself, to connect with what truly matters to you, then how can you ever expect to build a life that fulfills you? How can you expect to make decisions that align with who you really are? Most people go through life reacting. They make choices based on what's expected of them, based on what other people think, based on what seems acceptable rather than what's actually right for them. And then they wonder why they feel lost. They wonder why they feel like something's missing, like no matter how much they achieve, no matter how much they do, it never feels like enough. But the reason isn't because they need to do more. It's because they need to understand themselves. They need to connect with themselves in a way that goes beyond the surface. And walking alone, that's one of the simplest yet most effective ways to do it, because when you strip away the distractions, when you take away the outside noise, you're left with only the truth of what you really want, the truth of what's really important to you, the truth of what needs to change, what needs to grow, what needs to be let go. And it's not always easy to face that truth. Sometimes it brings up things you've been avoiding, things you've been burying under busyness, under routine, under the constant motion of everyday life. But the sooner you face it, the sooner you can start living in alignment with it. The sooner you can start making decisions from a place of clarity instead of confusion, from a place of purpose instead of pressure. And something incredible happens when you make walking alone a habit. You stop feeling the need to escape yourself. You stop looking for distractions to fill the silence. You start enjoying your own company in a way that most people never experience. You start to appreciate who you are, not just in relation to others, not just in the roles you play, but as an individual, as someone who has their own thoughts, their own dreams, their own inner world that is worth exploring. And that's rare, because most people spend their entire lives avoiding themselves, running from their own thoughts, filling every gap in their day with something external. But when you build that connection with yourself, when you start to value your own presence, that's when everything shifts. You become more confident, not because of what others say about you, but because you know yourself on a level that can't be shaken. You become more decisive because you trust your own instincts instead of second-guessing yourself based on outside opinions. You become more fulfilled because your life is no longer being shaped by external expectations. It's being shaped by you. And that's freedom. That's power. That's what it means to truly own your life instead of just existing in it. And it all starts with something as simple as taking a walk alone. It sounds small, it sounds basic, but the impact it can have is massive. Because when you take that time for yourself, when you make that commitment to check in with your own thoughts, to listen to your own mind, to strengthen that relationship with yourself, you start showing up in life differently. You start moving with more confidence, with more clarity, with more certainty about who you are and what you want. You stop seeking validation because you already have it from the one person who matters most, you. And that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? To live a life that feels true to you, to make choices that align with who you really are, to wake up every day feeling connected to yourself instead of feeling like you're just going through the motions. But none of that happens unless you take the time to listen. None of that happens unless you create the space to understand yourself, to build that self-awareness, to strengthen that relationship with your own mind. So don't wait. Don't keep filling every moment with distractions, with noise, with things that pull you further away from yourself. Take the time, step outside, walk alone, and listen. Because everything you're searching for, clarity, confidence, direction, purpose, it's already inside you. You just need to give yourself the space to hear it.